Looking back on those years, my mother worked 2 jobs simultaneously, solely with the intention of enabling my father to attend a prestigious university. Unexpectedly, after my father achieved academic success and became the mayor, he unceremoniously abandoned my mother. My mother, unwilling to accept being dumped, made a great commotion in the rented apartment, denouncing my father as a heartless man and firmly refusing to agree to the breakup. However, my father roared, "A breakup is never a matter that requires the consent of both parties. I alone can decide it, and you are the one being broken up with." Upon hearing these words, my mother trembled all over. "But we're married. We're husband and wife, not just boyfriend and girlfriend," she said. My father burst into laughter, spreading his hands. "What husband and wife? Where's the marriage certificate?" My mother was completely stunned. They had only held a wedding banquet in their rural hometown, and had never gone to obtain a marriage certificate. In fact, many couples in the village were like this. Unfortunately, my mother had little education and was utterly ignorant of legal knowledge. Without considering resorting to legal means, after crying in the rented apartment for several days, she astonishingly let my father go for the first time. All the youth and money she had sacrificed over those years were dismissed by my father with a simple sentence. "I've let you down. I'll owe you the money for now and will repay you with interest in the future." Without the need to support a man anymore, my mother lost her motivation to earn money. Overwhelmed by heartbreak, she returned from the coastal city to our hometown. Half a month later, she discovered that she was pregnant with me. When she called my father, his phone was already out of service. I don't know what my mother was thinking, but she didn't have an abortion and insisted on giving birth to me. In the following years, she progressed from being a vendor selling spicy and sour noodles and salty noodles to owning her first store, and then her second store. Through hard work, the lives of my mother and I gradually improved. My mother remained single all the while. Among our relatives, friends, neighbors, there were many who offered to introduce boyfriends to her, but she declined them all. She would say, "All men are scumbags. Isn't it better to be alone? You earn your own money and spend it as you like. Only a fool would look for a man." She would also say, "Chingzi, you must study hard. When you grow up, strive for your career. Men may let you down, but your career won't." I couldn't agree more. My name is Huang Chengzi. Huang is my mother's surname, and Chengzi is because she liked eating oranges when she was pregnant with me. My mother gave me this name rather casually, but her approach to my education was never negligent. When our family was still running a mobile street vendor business, she lived frugally to buy books for me. I remember that under the dim yellow streetlights, my mother busied herself with the business while I sat on a small stool beside her reading books. Little flying insects would occasionally land on the book. I dared not dirty the book, nor did I dare to crush the flying insects. During those midsummer nights, I would always be reading while waving my hand to shoo away the insects. I remember that there were always customers or the bosses of other stalls praising me, saying that I loved studying and would surely be a good student in the future. My mother liked to hear such compliments and would always smile and say, "My daughter loves reading books." For her sake and also to satisfy my vanity, I exerted all my efforts to be excellent not only within the school but also outside of it. From primary school to senior high school, I participated in activities such as painting, dancing, the Olympiad in mathematics, and was a young pioneer, an excellent class committee member, a good student, and a class monitor. I lived up to the expectations of both my mother and myself. Until the beginning of the second semester of my senior high school sophomore year, my head teacher suddenly removed me from the position of class monitor and replaced me with a student she favored more. His name was Su Xinshin, a new transfer student. On the first day of the new semester, he walked into the classroom with his head lowered, following the head teacher. The classroom erupted with excitement. The boys in the back row, who had initially been whistling softly, now cheered for the beauty openly. The head teacher smiled and chided us. "Don't scare the new classmate. Classmate Xinshin is not familiar with the school, so you should help him more." The boys became excited again, shouting one after another, "Got it, teacher. Don't worry. We'll take good care of the new classmate." The head teacher nodded in satisfaction and then changed the topic. "Classmate Xinshin comes from a big city, has broad horizons, and his academic performance is excellent. From today on, he will serve as the class monitor." Instantly, the cheering died down, and the classmates all looked at me. The head teacher paused for a moment and then fixed her gaze on me. "Chengzi will be the vice class monitor to assist classmate Xinshin and help him get familiar with the class as soon as possible." I felt uncomfortable. I didn't know this new student at all, and who knew what kind of character he had? Why should he be the class monitor? My expression must have been unpleasant at that time, and I didn't stand up to express my stance. The head teacher frowned at me. She said, "Is it really that difficult to admit that others are excellent? Among any 3 people walking together, there must be one I can learn from. Don't you understand this simple truth?" Her words struck me like a hammer. After much restraint, I finally yielded to the authority of the head teacher. Yes, teacher. Don't worry. I will do a good job in assisting. It felt like swallowing a dead fly but still having to say it tasted good. Su Xinshin was really something. After class he walked up to my desk. Monitor. I looked up at him. He bit his lower lip and his fair and clean little face, combined with his affected look, was truly like that of a green tea person. Monitor Xinshin, what do you want? I haven't bullied you, have I? I was extremely annoyed by his act of doing this in front of the whole class. No. His voice was as soft as a murmur. Monitor Changzi, I didn't mean to take your position. I'm new here and don't know anything. Please don't be angry with me. It was Teacher Wang. He didn't tell me in advance. How about we go talk to him together, and ask him to give the position of class monitor back to you? His expression was sincere, but I felt as if I had just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. The head teacher had already made a decision. I had just expressed my dissatisfaction in class. If I went to talk to her now, I was afraid that my impression in the head teacher's eyes would plummet even further. I looked at him, sizing him up. This scheming girl. It was supposed to be after class, but the classroom was getting quieter and quieter because of him. The whole class was looking this way, as silent as if they were afraid to breathe. Su Xinshin suddenly burst into tears, crying loudly. I didn't mean it. Chengzi, I'll give the position of class monitor back to you. Please don't be angry with me. Whoa. I suddenly understood the helplessness that an ordinary girl feels when facing a green tea person. When moral coercion is imposed like a noose around one's neck, it is extremely arduous to break free from its shackles. Everyone around was waiting for my response, and more eyes were fixed upon me, as if I were being forced into a corner. Slowly, I rose to my feet and stared steadily at him. Student Su, just do your job as the monitor well. No one will make things difficult for you. Instantly, Su Xinshin stopped crying and broke into a smile. She grabbed my hand and shook it coquettishly, saying, I knew Chengzi was the kindest. I've just come to this class. You won't not help me, right? I was both angry and amused at her insatiable attitude. Help. I drawled the word. Not only will I help, but the whole class will. Look around at the onlookers. I glanced around at the bystanders and directly asked them, Isn't that right? The boys laughed merrily, while some girls remained silent and others pursed their lips in disdain. Teacher Wang truly doted on Su Xinshin. After the start of the school term during the first mock exam, Su Xinshin, the worldly and academically excellent little princess, not only failed to rank among the top 5 in the grade but also didn't even make it into the top 5 in the class. Her total score was 13 points lower than mine. Teacher Wang came up with a plethora of excuses for her. She wasn't acclimated to the local climate, hadn't gotten used to the way teachers here taught, the test questions were too simple, and children with active minds were prone to making mistakes. Teacher Wang comforted her, saying, Take your time. You'll be fine once you adjust. Then Teacher Wang instructed me, Chengzi, you should be more understanding. Don't just hold the deputy position and do nothing. I couldn't help but laugh out loud on the spot. It's as if Su Xinshin has ever done any class work, I thought. Teacher Wang glared at me fiercely, and I lowered my head, pretending to be meek. Ever since Su Xinshin joined our class, every time Teacher Wang assigned tasks, the first sentence was always, Monitor Xinshin will take the lead. And then she would call my name and those of other class committee members, asking us to assist Su Xinshin. Of course it was us, the old-timers, who did the actual work. After each task was completed, Teacher Wang would rush to praise Su Xinshin for her capable organization and excellent work. Inevitably, the rest of us who did the work had some speculations. She's so blatantly biased. They must be relatives. Even if they're relatives, it shouldn't be this extreme. Last Friday, I saw her personally escort Su Xinshin out of the school and help her into a car, nodding and bowing to the person in the car. She's probably a high-ranking official, someone guessed. I heard it's the new county magistrate. Su Xinshin told the people in her dormitory, another person said. We all fell silent. In the adult world, we might not agree but could understand. As midterm approached, the class was selecting outstanding student cadres through a show of hands. My name was at the front and almost the entire class voted for me. When it came to Su Xinshin, I didn't raise my hand. After all, I still thought, why should I? She's a monitor who doesn't do anything. The head teacher can spoil her, but I'm not obliged to indulge her. Several other class cadres who did a lot of work also didn't raise their hands. We just couldn't bring ourselves to like this girl with powerful connections who received special treatment. As the old-timers in the class, we had some influence. Plus, some girls had long been annoyed by her coquettish ways. So, only 23 people voted for her, less than half of the class. Su Xinshin's eyes instantly turned red. And she 趴在桌子上, 呜呜地哭了起来. Teacher Wang's face darkened. 本来该进行下一位的举手表决了, but she held it up and asked the whole class to vote again. At the age of 17 or 18, the students were full of a sense of justice. In the second vote, only 25 people voted for her, just 2 more, still less than half. The classroom was very quiet, and Su Xinshin's sobs seemed especially loud. What's wrong with you all? Teacher Wang suddenly flew into a rage and slapped the podium, making a huge noise. Xinshin is the monitor of our class. If you don't choose her as an outstanding student cadre, do you want other classes to laugh at us? How much work has Xinshin done usually? Her academic performance is also top-notch. Even if you're not grateful, you should be fair at this time. I don't know how many people in the class were like me at that moment. 表面低头沉默，内心却嗤之以鼻. But I knew that Teacher Wang's eyes were scanning me viciously. Her subsequent words were full of innuendo. You're all grown up. Can't you even handle a small matter like an election without being influenced by others? Some people are so jealous. They always think their things are being taken away and never know how to reflect. What's the use of just having good grades? Morality comes first, ability is important, and actions should be kind. Have you all been studying for so many years for nothing? I'll give you one last chance. Vote again. As soon as her voice fell, someone in the class muttered softly, changing the vote count? What's the point of voting? It was a boy who spoke. Although his voice was soft, the arrogance and disdain in his tone were almost palpable. Teacher Wang had never received such a provocation before. She was stunned on the spot, her face turning bright red. Then she started pounding the table wildly. Who said that? Stand up. The boy's words represented the feelings of many people. No one in the class made a sound. After flying into a rage, Teacher Wang slammed the door and left. The classmates looked at each other in dismay. After a brief discussion among me and several class committee members, we completed the remaining voting work, copied down the vote counts, and asked the English class representative to send them to Teacher Wang, since the head teacher was an English teacher. This matter should have ended there. Half a month later, the list of outstanding student cadres was announced. Besides Su Xinxin being a provincial-level outstanding student cadre, the others were all at the city, county, or school level. Everyone immediately understood why Teacher Wang had been so furious that day. She wanted to ensure Su Xinxin got this honor. In this world, people are more concerned about unfairness than poverty. When the school's honor roll was posted, a thick sense of gloom filled the classroom. Many students from other classes came to ask us. There were only 2 provincial-level outstanding student cadre quotas in our grade, and there were more than 1 student cadres who were more excellent than Su Xinxin. Where there was doubt, there was an explanation. The school's reason was that it wasn't just about grades and class votes but also about various other aspects. It required all-round development in morality, intelligence, and physical education. They listed a large number of awards Su Xinxin had won in public welfare activities she had participated in, both at the provincial and municipal levels, mostly in cultural and artistic projects and mostly organized by non-governmental organizations. Teacher Wang specifically called me to the office and expressed 3 points. First, the list of provincial-level outstanding student cadres had been publicly announced on the official website of the Provincial Education Department for 7 days, and no one had raised any objections. Now it was a done deal, and even if we were dissatisfied we had to endure it. Second, this quota meant little to me. She told me not to care. Any student who had won the first prize in the National Olympiad in mathematics, physics, or chemistry already had a huge advantage in the independent enrollment of universities. Even if a provincial-level outstanding student cadre title was added, it didn't make much difference. I had won the first prize in the Olympiad in chemistry in the first semester of my sophomore year, so there was really no need to fight for it. A gentleman helps others achieve good deeds, not bad ones. More friends mean more paths. Third, she hoped I would assist her in soothing the emotions of the others in the class. She promised that she would definitely recommend me for other opportunities in the future. At the age of 17, I was no longer the type to speak without thinking. My mind was full of swear words for her like junk. How could such a person be worthy of being a teacher? If it were during a war, she would definitely be a big traitor. But my words were much gentler. I heard that Monitor Xinxin's father is the second in command in the county. Teacher Wang, you're saving the nation by a roundabout way, aren't you? Nonsense. Who told you that? She lowered her voice. Naturally, it's the person involved. The whole class knows. Teacher Wang's face darkened, and she seemed to want to say something but stopped several times. Seeing her in such a predicament, I felt extremely satisfied. I simply shirked the responsibility. I can't do the soothing work. Blocking people's mouths is more dangerous than blocking a river. I don't have that ability. Teacher Wang exhaled a long breath and waved for me to leave. Su Xinxin started crying again. When talking to other class committee members or boys, she would occasionally show a timid expression, with red eyes, as if someone had bullied her. I really didn't understand. With her family background, so many people would fawn on her and serve her respectfully. It would be normal if she had developed an arrogant and domineering personality. How could she have become such a little green tea? As for the matter of the provincial-level outstanding student cadre, everyone had been talking about it for several days. But the people who really cared were only those who had the ability to compete for it. There were only a handful of them in the whole grade. We were all smart enough to know that dwelling on this matter was pointless. The result was hard to change, so it was better to do a few more sets of questions and strive to get a few more points in the college entrance examination. Half a month later, no one in the class was discussing this matter anymore. Our midterm exam results also came out. I was still first in the class and third in the grade, while Su Xinxin had dropped from the top 10 in the class to outside the top 10. The parents' meeting was held as scheduled. My mother knew that there was a transfer student in our class, and that the transfer student's father was the new county magistrate of our county. I would occasionally gossip with her about this, but she wasn't interested. Whenever I talked about it, she would just respond with a few and then quickly change the topic saying, grades are the most important. We'll directly get into a good university. That's more impressive than those who try every means to take the wrong path. Then, in a more serious tone, she would say, if you think the social atmosphere is bad, go and change it. You're too young to do much now. After you graduate from university, take the civil service exam. Be a good official and try to change these unhealthy trends. My mother had an obsession with the civil service exam. No matter how nicely she put it, no matter how many times she shouted the slogan, the end of the universe is the civil service exam. I knew that she was thinking about someone, or rather she couldn't let go. She couldn't let go of that youth, that love, that all-out effort, and that complete betrayal. The parents' meeting was held on Friday afternoon. My mother dressed up beautifully. She liked going to parents' meetings. Her daughter had good grades and was the class monitor. A typical child of someone else's family. For so many years, she had always been the object of envy of other parents and often shared her experience. However, that evening when she came back, she was in a very bad mood. As soon as she entered the door, she plopped down on the sofa. "Mom, what's wrong? Did Teacher Wang embarrass you?" "It's nothing. Just a bit tired. Go do your homework. I'll sit for a while and then cook for you." She propped her elbow on the armrest of the sofa and rubbed her temple with her fingertips, looking extremely tired. I poured her a cup of boiling water and put it in her hand. Her fingertips were ice cold. "Mom, what exactly happened?" "It's an adult's matter. Don't worry about it. Hurry up and do your homework." My mother urged me, her voice rather loud and impatient. I got up and walked towards the study. Before entering, I looked back at her. Her back suddenly slumped, and her energy seemed to be drained instantly, as if she were at the end of her rope. "Mom, let's have dumplings for dinner. I want to eat the frozen dumplings in the fridge." My mother nodded. Through the wall in the door, I was worried about my mother. I sent messages to several class committee members who lived on campus, subtly asking about the situation of the parents' meeting. Most of their replies were about the meeting itself. Only one person gave me an effective piece of information. "Your mother and Su Xinshin's father stood in the corridor and talked for more than 10 minutes after the parents' meeting. Your mother looked very unhappy." My mother and her father? I immediately became nervous. With Su Xinshin's character, she would cry even if no one bullied her. Moreover, in this midterm exam she had performed so poorly. To avoid being scolded, she would surely find external reasons, such as unfriendly classmates or the former monitor leading others to bully her. Her father was a powerful person, and my mother was a small businesswoman. If her father wanted to make things difficult for my mother, by making a few phone calls, our family's business would be in trouble. I regretted it. It was not easy for my mother to raise me. If because I wasn't submissive enough, her years of hard work were to come to nothing. I was anxious, worried, and flustered. I looked at the words in the book, but not a single word registered in my mind. I used my sense of hearing to the fullest. I heard the footsteps upstairs, the sound of a parent scolding a child downstairs, and finally, I heard my mother get up and walk towards the kitchen. That night my mother, who had started from selling snacks, actually boiled all the dumplings in the pot until their skins burst. The oil was floating on the surface of the soup. My mother said, "Just eat them like this." I asked her if Su Xinshin's father had been abusing his power to bully us. My mother said there was no such thing. She said she was in a bad mood because our province was a major province for the college entrance examination, and the score line was set extremely high, and she felt that we were at a disadvantage. At around 8 o'clock that evening, I was watching TV when a guest came to our house. The person was a man probably in his 40s. He was tall and imposing with a refined air about him. He wore glasses, a suit underneath, and a black woolen overcoat on top. He was carrying several shopping bags from upscale malls. "What are you doing here?" In an instant all the dejection on my mother vanished, replaced by a fighting spirit. She was on high alert towards the visitor. "I have no ill intentions." The man lifted the bags in his hand. "I just came to see you. Could you please let me in first?" My mother hesitated for a moment. The man's gaze fell on me, and my mother's alert nerves tensed up again. She turned around blushing and her voice took on a stern tone. "Qingzi, go in and do your homework." Although I was reluctant to give up watching TV, which I could only do twice a week, I didn't dare to disobey my mother. As I got up and walked towards the study, the man had already stepped into our house. I heard her mutter softly, "Why bother? I just came to see my daughter." "Daughter?" My heart skipped a beat, and I looked back nervously. I saw that my mother's face was even more tense than mine. At that moment my mind went blank. This was the first time I had seen my mother so nervous. Even though I had 1,000 reasons to stay, I could only pretend not to have heard anything. The moment I closed the study door, I could clearly hear my heart pounding like the beating of ribs. The man was well preserved and looked more than 10 years younger than my mother. "I'm telling you, Chengzi is my daughter. You can forget about anything else." My mother's voice came. "I don't intend to take her away. I just came to see you too and bought you and Chengzi some things," the man said. I leaned against the study door, unable to move an inch. "What do you want?" My mother's voice was filled with hostility. "Mr. Su, I made myself very clear to you this afternoon. Apart from being your creditor, I have nothing to do with you." Yes, it's up to you." The man agreed with her. "Here is 500,000 yuan. Besides the money you lent me back then, there is also some compensation. I said back then that I would definitely pay you back. Later you changed your phone number, and I couldn't find you. I didn't even know you had a child. Now that I see you're doing well, I'm relieved. If possible, I would like to come and see you often and fulfill my responsibilities as a father. I'm telling you, not a chance." My mother's and the man's voices came intermittently. I heard my name, Su Xinshin's name, and I heard them mention Teacher Wang. The man's attitude was sincere, and he repeatedly pleaded with my mother to give him a chance to make amends, saying that he would do his best to take care of us. The man's identity became obvious. He was exactly Su Xinshin's father, the new county magistrate of our county, and also my biological father. More than half an hour later, the man left. He left behind 2 sets of clothes, a set of skincare products, a small box of gold bars, and 500,000 yuan in cash. When I walked out of the study, my mother was still sitting on the sofa, rubbing her temples, not having moved an inch. "Mom, how are you? Are you okay? You heard everything, right?" "Yes. I thought you would throw the things out." "Do you think I should have thrown them out?" "I was so afraid you would." My mother smiled. Since that incident, she had been single for many years, handling everything on her own. I thought she would regard money as dirt and choose so-called integrity. I'm not a 20-year-old girl anymore. I know how hard it is to earn money and I won't go against it. Chengzi, I was so afraid you would object to what I did. Mom, I've grown up. When it comes to men, I consider myself mature. Just within a weekend, Teacher Wang changed. The way he looked at me changed from one of disgust to one of kindness and amiability. He would invite me to answer questions, assign me tasks that were not related to assisting Su Xinxin, and would praise me lavishly after I completed them, saying that I was a role model for the whole class. My friend exclaimed, "Old Wang has changed. What magic did you cast on him?" I said, "I didn't cast any magic. Maybe his short-circuited nerves have finally been fixed." In my heart, I knew very well that there was no such thing as short-circuited nerves. It was just that money and power could make the impossible possible. Most likely, my biological father had personally called Teacher Wang, either directly or indirectly, asking him to take care of me. In fact, my mother had also tried to curry favor with Teacher Wang over the past 2 years, giving him shopping cards during festivals. But power is always more effective than money. I was waiting. I was shocked to find out that Su Xinxin and I were half-siblings. We had such different personalities, yet half of our genetic genes came from the same man. Mr. Su's genetic influence seemed rather weak, as both Su Xinxin and I had inherited more from our mothers. My mother was a strong-willed woman who didn't rely on men, and had successfully run her small business. I guess that Su Xinxin's mother was probably delicate and manipulative, prone to crying, and full of a princess complex. Su Xinxin didn't have a good reputation in the class. In the 21st century, she still adhered to the script of a small female lead from the 1980s, thinking that she could get everything by crying. The logic was like this: men conquer the world and women conquer men. She dressed up, made herself beautiful and alluring, with a tearful and timid look. She successfully made most of the boys in the class consider her as someone in need of protection, while almost all the girls in the class disliked her. 80% of our dormitory's bedtime conversations were about her. Su Xinxin is so disgusting. Do you know what I heard at noon? When getting food, she called Li Bin brother. And Zhang Meng next to her got so angry that she almost dumped a plate of food on her head. Li Bin and Zhang Meng are the recognized couple in our class, like childhood sweethearts. The people in the next dormitory can't stand her. Every morning when the others are still sleeping, she gets up alone, turns on the big light, and starts making up. When the others ask her to turn on the desk lamp, she says the light from the desk lamp is not good enough and that making up is a way to show respect for others, and that the rest of us are country bumpkins. Well, it's true that high school doesn't ban making up. However, in a private school in a 4th or 5th tier city like ours, the teaching staff is not as good as those in big cities, and the guarantee of the enrollment rate mainly depends on doing a large number of practice questions. The teachers wish that we could spend all our time outside of eating and sleeping doing questions. Most of the students are already very late after finishing the questions and memorizing the books, and they don't have enough sleep time at all. We simply can't compete with a young lady like Su Xinxin, who doesn't attend evening self-study, has a teacher giving her individual tutoring in the office, and goes back to the dormitory to have a beauty sleep. I really don't know what those boys see in her. She has narrow eyes and a certain way of speaking in a coquettish voice. In a female-led drama, she would definitely be a minor supporting character, who gets constantly defeated, and wouldn't survive more than 10 episodes. At the age of 17 or 18, girls are just beginning to experience the stirrings of love. Those vague feelings of affection and clear-cut hostility. Su Xinxin's behavior really offended many people. I disliked her, but I rarely participated in discussions about her. Among the girls in our class, I should be the one who talked about her behind her back the least. I didn't have a boy I liked, and I didn't even see her as a rival. However, in her imagination, I was still her greatest enemy. She couldn't figure out why Teacher Wang's attitude towards me had changed. Clearly, she was Teacher Wang's favorite before. How could I suddenly be on par with her? One day after the evening self-study, she cornered me in the corridor of the dormitory building, with a resentful look in her eyes. "Huang Chengzi, tell me the truth. What did you do to Teacher Wang? It's none of your business. Don't you even care about an old man?" I was extremely annoyed by this girl and pushed her away. After thinking for a while, I added, "Su Xinxin, wake up. Life isn't a TV drama, and you're not the only princess. No one can be pampered forever." She frowned as if thinking about what I had said. Mr. Su was delighted to have another daughter. That day, he only took one look at me when he was at our house, and then he used some of his connections. After seeing me again at school, he brought me some snacks and we chatted for a while. Somehow I caught his eye and made him quite happy. He said I had inherited his excellent academic genes and told me to study hard. He also said that if I needed any help in the future or if my living expenses were not enough, I could directly go to him. He added me on WeChat and transferred 5,000 yuan to me. He said, "Chingzi, call me Dad." I said, "Sorry, Uncle Su." His expression became somber and he comforted himself. "It's okay. It's really too sudden. It's normal that you're not used to it. We can take it slow." I just gave a hum in response. After that, he would come to me from time to time and take me out for a meal, saying that he wanted to build a relationship with me. Sometimes it was at noon and sometimes in the evening. His car would be parked at the school gate, and there was a dedicated driver. He would sit in the back seat. The driver liked to show his loyalty to his boss and would take every opportunity to say, "Chingzi, your father treats you better than Shinshin. He was really busy today. He had a meeting all morning and even canceled his lunch appointment to come and see you. He was afraid that you wouldn't eat well at school." I would smile politely but wearily. Mr. Su noticed that I wasn't in a good mood and interrupted the driver. He asked me what I wanted to eat, what interesting things had happened at school, whether the teachers were good to me, and also about my past life and future plans. Just like all loving fathers in the world. Occasionally, I would wonder if he hadn't abandoned my mother back then, we would have been a happy family. Would the difficult years when my mother raised me alone have been filled with warmth? However, there were no what-ifs. The ingratitude from many years ago couldn't be covered up by the feigned warmth. I didn't believe that he had looked for my mother. They had held a wedding banquet in the countryside. As long as he had gone to my mother's hometown or called the people there, he should have been able to find out my mother's whereabouts. I also didn't believe that he really wanted to make up for it. A heartless person, no matter how he changed, was still an egoist, perhaps with the word exquisite added. An exquisite egoist. Big fish come, geese fly low, ants have moved, and the wind fills the building. Teacher Wang's temper started to become irritable, and it got worse and worse. Every day he was like a powder keg, ready to explode at the slightest provocation. He would curse and nag, and he had bad breath and acne. One day during the evening self-study, Teacher Wang asked us to do a test paper, and then went out with his phone in his hand. After I finished the test paper, I went to the toilet and heard him talking on the phone at the corner of the stairs. Damn it, it must be someone from our office. If I leave, the position of the director of the English teaching and research section will be vacant. So many people are eyeing Su Shinshin, that good for nothing. Had she been more competitive and had a better reputation, I wouldn't have been caught in a vulnerable position and reported. His voice was extremely low, in inverse proportion to his anger. I tiptoed past the corridor, feeling a sense of guilt as if I were a thief. The person who reported him wasn't from their office, nor was it the office struggle he assumed. It was me. That day, after he said that the matter of the provincial outstanding student cadre was a done deal and we had to endure our dissatisfaction, I wrote an anonymous report letter to the provincial education department, accusing him of treating students differently and giving preferential treatment to the children of leaders. I wanted to know how far a head teacher in a private high school in a county could go in covering up the truth. I wanted to find out whether the educational world was truly fair and just, whether anyone would look into this matter, conduct an investigation, and carry out a comprehensive rectification. The inspection team would be arriving in a couple of days. The principal would accompany them, and the education bureau had already been informed. It seemed that everything was under control. When I reported, I had hoped that no one would pay attention, that they would just make a call to warn him. Now that the higher-ups were coming, if I didn't make good use of this opportunity, it would be my fault. At noon in the cafeteria the next day, I sat at a table with the girls I was close to as usual. Su Shinshin sat at a table with 3 boys. During the meal, I sent her a photo on my WeChat Xiaohao. It was a photo of Mr. Su and me having a meal, with Mr. Su picking food for me. She took one look at it and her expression changed. Her brows knitted tightly, and her fists clenched. The 3 boys quickly leaned over. Su Shinshin looked up, blushing, and shot me a venomous look. I smiled casually, then continued to eat and chat with the girls, only glancing at them from the corner of my eye. The 3 boys were busy showing concern for Su Shinshin, probably asking what had happened. Su Shinshin looked at me, gnashing her teeth, and her eyes seemed to be spitting fire. I didn't know what she said, but the boys all looked up at me in disbelief. I pretended not to know anything as if I saw nothing. I was waiting for Su Shinshin to burst out in anger. After a while, our table had almost finished eating. I stood up with my tray, lowered my eyes, and shot a sidelong glance at her, with the corners of my lips slightly curved, fully demonstrating what provocation was. With Su Shinshin's personality, if she didn't explode on the spot, she might come up with a more drastic move later. Coward, I mouthed silently. Finally, Su Shinshin couldn't hold it in anymore. Her hand slapped hard on the table, and she walked towards me with a tray in one hand. I pretended not to see her again, just chatting with the people next to me. So when her tray was thrown at me, all that was left were splashing leftovers and soup. I let out a scream, and the people around exclaimed. Everyone was dodging. Su Shinshin, are you crazy? I turned around suddenly and shouted. I deliberately slipped with my foot and half fell onto the adjacent dining table. Ouch! Seeing an opportunity, Su Shinshin raised the tray and threw it at me again. I held onto the table with one hand and raised my other arm to block. You're the crazy one. You shameless thing, how dare you seduce my dad? In our school, the name Su Shinshin was well known. Almost everyone knew her identity and whose daughter she was. So when I shouted Su Shinshin's name and she yelled out, seduce my dad, the first reaction of many people in the cafeteria wasn't to stop the fight but to take out their phones and point them at us. Su Shinshin had completely lost control. She was hitting me and screaming. I'll teach you to seduce my dad. I'll teach you. Don't think that just because you're my dad's mistress you're a princess. I'll kill you today. I endured a few blows, screaming in pain to give the people around enough time to record the video, until the boys nearby started to pull Su Shinshin away. Then I started to shout hysterically at the people around. Call the police. Call 110. Someone held Su Shinshin but she was still struggling, acting like a madwoman. At this moment, a person rushed over from the cafeteria entrance. He was clearly extremely angry and slapped Su Xinshin across the face. The clear 5-finger mark looked painful. Su Xinshin stopped, looking dazedly at the person who came. The person who came was also stunned, looking regretful. It was Teacher Wang. Looking at Su Xinshin's face, which was about to start crying, I quickly tilted my body and let out a loud wail before she could. Behind Teacher Wang were the school leaders with twitching faces. Among the school leaders were several others with more prominent official titles, more imposing manner, and equally bad expressions. When Su Xinshin was waving the tray, they were far away and couldn't hear what she was saying. Your school has a great atmosphere. Students can freely beat up their classmates, and teachers use slaps to discipline students. One of the leaders said. The one who hit seems to be classmate Su Xinshin, another leader asked, looking at our principal. The leaders didn't say much more and turned to leave, leaving the mess to Teacher Wang. Teacher Wang was busy comforting Su Xinshin, who had been slapped by him, and also directing people to send me to the infirmary. The police arrived soon. Regarding the matter of Su Xinshin hitting me, so many people in the cafeteria saw it, and there were also mobile phone videos as evidence. Uncle Policeman, I want to sue her. She committed intentional injury and slander, I said, pointing at Su Xinshin with one finger. Teacher Wang was extremely headache. The frown on his forehead was almost like a mountain peak. The matter of sending Su Xinshin to be a provincial outstanding student cadre through backdoor channels hadn't been resolved yet, and now this provincial outstanding student cadre had beaten someone in full view of everyone. What was even more serious was that in an era when corporal punishment was strictly prohibited, he had actually slapped a student in front of provincial leaders. With these three problems emerging simultaneously, not only his position as the director of the teaching and research group was at stake, but his teaching qualification certificate might also be revoked. Teacher Wang was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, busy calling the parents of both sides. Don't come to the school. Go directly to the police station, the policeman said. This was the first time I had ever ridden in a police car. Besides me, Su Xinshin and Teacher Wang, several on-site witnesses also went. We gave statements in different rooms and then waited. We sat on the plastic chairs in the corridor. Mr. Su and Mrs. Su arrived first. Su Xinshin didn't feel that she had done anything wrong at all. She angrily showed them the photo. Mom, look at what Dad has been doing behind your back. Her tone was angry and she gave me a smug look. I was doing the right thing by hitting her. I ignored her and didn't say a word. Mrs. Su looked at Mr. Su. Mr. Su pinched the bridge of his nose. Suddenly Mrs. Su flew into a rage, shouting bitch and charging towards me. I let out a wail. Before Mrs. Su could hit me, the police officers rushed out. My mother arrived in time. Her first thing was to check the places where I was hit. My arm was a bit red, but it was nothing serious. Then she stood up and turned towards Mrs. Su and Mr. Su. With the aura of a store owner, she cursed. Damn it. Who the hell is the bitch? Brother Su, if you have the guts, tell your wife who the real mistress is, who met who first, who was with who first. You had a wedding banquet in your hometown. Who supported you through college? Who the hell became a civil servant and then immediately abandoned their wife? You came a few days ago, pestering us to recognize your daughter, and today you let your wife and daughter beat my daughter. Do you have any shame? I'm telling you, I'm going to fight this lawsuit to the end. My mother spoke extremely fast, like setting off firecrackers with a huge amount of information. Mr. Su was busy stopping my mother. Mrs. Su and Su Xinshin looked shocked and pale. The people next to them, regardless of their previous thoughts, now became onlookers. The final result of that day was that they had to compensate and apologize. My injuries only looked messy because of the soup and leftovers all over me. The actual pain was negligible, not even as bad as the slap Su Xinshin had received. If I insisted on suing, it would be time-consuming and labor-intensive. On the way home that day, my mother asked, "Why were you crying? Your eyes are all swollen." "This isn't like you," I replied. "If I didn't cry, that green tea would cry and win sympathy. This is called taking the green tea's path and leaving her with no way out." My mother laughed heartily. Then she asked, "Does the place where you were hit really not hurt? If you had arrived at the police station a little later, even the redness on your arm would have disappeared." After this incident, Mr. Su probably wouldn't come to see us again. As my mother said, he had been sending money and gifts to silence me. Now he was probably regretting it to death. "Mom, are you feeling better?" My mother raised her hand and gently wiped the corner of her eye. Later, Su Xinshin's provincial outstanding student cadre title was revoked, and she was given a disciplinary warning by the school for hitting someone. Later, Teacher Wang left our school. Later, Mr. Su's dark history became the talk of the town. And later, Mr. Su and his family left our county. I heard that he was demoted. I don't know the various reasons. It's not something to be discussed with outsiders. The end.